For officiating, we don't care about the outcome. I want to say that we do the best we can. Most officials are trying to be students of the game. We don't care who wins. I want to see good volleyball. I want to see clean volleyball. I love the game. The coaches, you have to perform. You don't know what the coach is going through. They don't know what you're going through. We are human. Motivate your kids. Don't worry about my job. Don't worry about the referee or the coach's job. Just focus on your kid. Be positive for your kid. I tell the players, play the best you can. I said, if you are going to be impacted by one call from me, then you need to get a stronger mindset. You don't need to be officiating. You should be doing it for the love of the game.
Welcome to the Booyah Sports Network with your host, Keith Kimberlin.
Now, some of the biggest arguments in youth volleyball don't happen on the court. They happen in the stands. Parents yell, "That was a lift," and "She was out of rotation," or "That was a double." Now, the truth is, most of us have questions about the rules, but very few of us ever get the opportunity to ask the people actually making those calls. Now, I first met today's guest at the Lone Star Classic in Houston, Texas. Like thousands of other parents, I was just there to watch my daughter compete. But actually, both my daughters compete. But I also realized that I was surrounded by some of the brightest minds in youth volleyball. With more than 60 courts under one roof, there was college coaches, recruiters, tournament organizers, officials everywhere I looked. So I decided I wasn't just going to waste this opportunity. So whenever my daughter wasn't playing, I spent time going up and introducing myself and doing impromptu interviews with college coaches, recruiters, tournament personnel, and pretty much anyone else I thought could help educate parents, players, and coaches through the whole Booyah Sports Network thing. So one group I especially wanted to talk to was the officials. Now, every weekend, parents have questions about lifts, doubles, rotations, net violations, and so many other calls. I wanted to hear all those answers directly from the people making those calls, so I could bring that information back to the Booyah Sports Network and share it with all the parents and the players and the coaches. Now, my goal was simple: create one place where families could hear directly from experts instead of relying on opinions from the stands. So the problem was every single official I saw was either working a match or hurrying on to another court, so I just couldn't catch up with one or two of them just to get 1 or 2 minutes to spare. So later on that afternoon, I was back at my daughter's court waiting for her next match when I happened to look over at the court beside us, and it was empty, and I saw there was an official sitting there at a table by himself at the scorer's table waiting for the next match to begin. So I remember thinking to myself, this is my chance. So I walked over, I introduced myself, and I asked if he didn't mind asking a few questions on camera. And honestly, I thought I'd get a quick 2 or 3 minute interview at the most. And we ended up filming for about roughly 8 minutes. But after I turned off the camera, we just kept talking. Before I knew it, we'd spent nearly half an hour talking about volleyball officiating, parents, coaches, and many of the biggest misconceptions surrounding the game. Now, it was one of the most informative conversations I'd had all weekend, to be honest with you. Then, just as we were wrapping up, I found out I hadn't just been talking to just another volleyball official. I'd been talking to one of the most respected leaders in volleyball officiating in the state of Texas. I remember walking back to my daughter's court thinking, what are the odds of this? Since he lives in the Austin area, I originally thought we'd have to do this interview remotely. But as luck would have it, he happened to be in Dallas-Fort Worth with his family and was kind enough to stop by the studio and while he was here in town, so I thought that was great. So today, we're going to answer many of the questions parents, players, coaches, and everybody has every weekend and clear up some of volleyball's most misunderstood rules and help all of us better understand exactly what officials are looking for during a match. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the president of volleyball for the Texas Association of Sports Officials, Russell Larson. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So I was just trying to remember our interaction when we were at the big tournament there in Houston. And one of the things I always wonder, like, how does a guy even get involved in being an official? I mean, were you just like a dad that wanted to pick up some extra cash or something? How'd that all happen?
Well, it started because I was an elementary teacher. I needed a part-time job, and I actually liked basketball. I knew nothing about volleyball, and so I did a half season of basketball, but then it said, no, volleyball's your sport. So I got involved 40 years ago, just learning the game, appreciating the game, and been through the whole evolution of what it is today.
So exactly what is TSAO? I mean, like, what is that all about?
Texas Association of Sports Officials. So it's an umbrella under Southwest Officials Association run in Texas, and it has 7 divisions. So we have volleyball, football, basketball, softball, baseball, water polo, and so it's officials across the state of Texas. that are under one big umbrella, and we have about 37,000 officials in the state. We have 3,800 volleyball alone, and so we have 29 different districts across Texas. And so our job is to be trained, and so we provide a service to all the schools, middle school and high school, private and public as well.
As a president, I mean, what's your day-to-day deal out there?
Well, I just took over May 1st. And so basically for myself, I'm just kind of facilitator. I put together our state annual meeting that was in Waco this past weekend. I'm in charge of the All-Star match through Texas Girls Coaches Association. I work through the test bank. I do training and do a lot of facilitating of making sure officials have the updated information, the chapters, and all the people in each area to know what's going on and rules updates and things like that.
So do you actually train officials? I mean, do you actually put on seminars, or how does that
Yes.
all go?
So at the annual meeting, I do some presentations like the one we did recently. It was called the 4 C's, about commitment, communication, consistency. And I'm the fourth C. But anyway, just talking to officials about keeping cool under pressure, how to coordinate and talk to parents, to coaches, to players, and just knowing that all eyes are on us and keeping calm. And then throughout the training also, we had our new rules interpretation. We had line judge training. We had Libero training. And so that's all what we offered at the state meeting. But on the local level, I actually train with officials and help new officials out, seasoned officials out, kind of just guiding them so that they can be the best they could be and we can serve the schools better.
So what do you enjoy most about mentoring officials and so forth? I mean, because I'm sure that's one of your main things.
I love working with newbies. That kind of like me. I was taking under the wings of some two very experienced officials and guiding them through the process and seeing the love of volleyball grow for them. Because 40 years worth, I still love doing middle school games. It's the Olympics every single time, and then going into club is different. But for high school, it's fun seeing the kids and their athleticism.
So let's shift gears here and let's shift into the mindset of an official.
Yep.
So walk me through the journey. So if I was going to be, say, a new official, like where would I start? I mean, how would this all start, and who's like a target audience for like someone that wants to become an official?
Well, a lot of our new officials are dads like you that their daughters have quit playing volleyball, or sons. Boys volleyball is growing in Texas, but they can't go watch their kids play anymore. They love the sport. And so they want to give back to the sport that's given to their daughters. And so for high school, you would just contact Texas Association of Sports Officials. We will get you involved with a local chapter. I had a dad this morning email me wanting to get involved in the Austin area. And so I connected him with our trainer. And then we just started feeding through information through emails. There's a lot on social media now that different chapters. But if you want to officiate, you can find a place and we'll get you plugged in.
So I mean, is something cost money? Like say you gotta pay money to learn, or do you get? I mean, is there books that you got to go through?
Yes.
And
so to join our association, it's $115, and that provides you with your continuing education, which are all the rule books, access to all our training videos and different aspects like that. And then most of the training occurs at the local level. So we get plugged in, like the Dallas chapter here is the largest in the state. They have 450 members. And so they have multiple satellites where they train officials on the court during spring leagues, summer leagues kind of things, and just getting there, standing behind an official and guiding them in the process.
So is there a lot of classroom instruction? I mean, is it something that where you literally go down like a kind of like a college course or something? You sit down and the teacher is teaching you and you're looking at the different things?
Yes. So one of the biggest things is alignment. Like you mentioned, rotation. That's the hardest thing. So we just sit there with a blackboard. We'll take actually solo cups sometimes and move them around. I've seen some chapters get rolling chairs and move them around so you can visibly see if it's overlapping, what the rotations are like. We go involved with just the rules application also. It's like talking them through situations where they can ask questions, we answer them. So we kind of give them as much simulation as possible, but then also is like, what would you do in this scenario?
Yeah. So, I mean, how long is it? Like, so when someone comes into your, deal, like if I'm a newbie, I guess, it probably depends a little bit on how much you, I guess, receive knowledge, but like, how long does it really take, like for a guy to come in, learn, and then actually you're like, okay, this guy's ready to go. And we're going to put him out there. He's live. Now we're going to put him out there in the action.
It would depend. So like a dad like you that's seen enough games, I mean, you probably can't count the number of tournaments you've been to with both your kids. You have a general understanding of it. So taking someone like you, probably a couple of months to get you some training, to get you involved, to watch you. The biggest part is the scrimmages. So for high school coming up, it's August 6th and 7th, Friday and Saturday, schools are going to have scrimmages. That is where you get your real like in the frying pan moment of like what's going on, how are you going to react. That's where we can see someone like you has some more experience. I started with zero knowledge. It took me a bit longer to kind of grasp what I was doing.
So did you have daughters that played? Or?
I did have my youngest daughter played, and so it was because of her that I actually started my own club.
Okay.
And I got to experience her playing club, coaching her, seeing her play through high school. She actually coached for me, so I got to experience the game of volleyball with her as well.
So what's one of the biggest misconceptions about becoming an official? Like what's something that people don't really know?
Some people think that since they know zero about volleyball, they can't get involved. That is so false. If you have a passion for sports, if you're motivated to learn, and you like to do these kind of things, you can get involved pretty quickly. And it depends on you and what you want to get out of it is how far you'll progress.
So I know that when my daughters, they were learning, I guess there's this transitional period where you start learning because you got to actually help ref the game.
Right.
Well, one of the things that they require them to do is they go to this school or this training so they can learn how to do the scorebook.
Right.
Well, I went through that because they said sometimes the parents need to shift over there and take care of it while the girls are warming up or whatever.
Absolutely.
So I went, me and my wife went to this class, and I mean, 5 minutes in, my eyes were glazed over. I mean, there's like triangles and squares and circles and libero this and I was like, there's no way. And you guys have to know that, right? Because if there's a dispute, like someone says something, I mean, you just go over there and you just look at the book, and I mean, you can tell, it's just the craziest thing ever. So anyway, so as far as is that one of the things you learn in the class?
Definitely. So on the high school side, usually school personnel keep the books, or sometimes in private schools, let parents do it. And so there are training videos, there are ways of teaching officials how to teach somebody else. So if you were to be at your daughter's high school game or middle school game, probably in 10 minutes, I could teach you the basics where you can get through it. And it's like, if anything came up, we could stop and fix it pretty quickly. So
let's talk about being actually on the stand. So we as parents, we're watching the game from the stands, and you're up on that, you're like, so let's talk about the two different types of refs. So you got R1, which I guess that stands for referee one, I guess?
It's called the first referee.
Okay, so the first referee. Yeah. So R1, then you got R2, which is your down ref, right? And then you have line judges on opposing corners, right? So you're, as the R1 and you're up on the perch, I mean, what are you watching when obviously you're watching the whole game, but I mean, what do you specifically, is there like a duty for the R1 versus the down ref?
Completely. So we have different angles. So that's one thing that's huge. If you imagine the parents sitting, depends on where they're sitting, where the coaches are on the bench versus the R1 versus R2, you have different angles and views. So the R1 is the lead official. They're the ones that start a play most times, and they are going to end the play most of the time. And so as a first referee, I first of all make sure the server has the ball, and then you start scanning the court, because how many times have you looked, a girl bend over, tie her shoes, or the coach asks for a timeout, substitution. So you have to scan the court, and you have to make sure, like in club, there's not a volleyball rolling on the court as well, because you've been there before. It's like, yes,
balls flying around.
So you kind of have to start with a general knowledge and awareness of what's going on, and then the whistle, you begging for serve, and then my job as the R1 is to follow the ball. I have to follow the process of the ball, because I'm like, what does the pass look like? And then you get in front of the ball, because if you follow the ball to the setter's hand, you're going to be behind. So to anticipate, where's the ball going? Is the setter in position? What kind of pass? So in the higher level sport, matches, there is so much going on, and just a split second, there's like, you have to be on autopilot a lot of time, or muscle memory.
So you're processing all these things at one time.
Yep.
So let's talk about consistency, because one of the things that parents, I think, have a problem or complain about a lot, and coaches too, is the consistency from ref to ref to ref to ref. So because you got one dude that may have been like you, that's been doing it for 40 years, it's the second nature to you, versus a guy that just been doing it maybe a year. He's good, but he's only been doing it a year. So the consistency, so like how much of the stuff in refereeing is subjective I mean, because it seems like there's a lot of subjective
Yes.
analysis when you talk about an actual ref, whether it be a down ref or the R1. So let's talk about that a little bit. So how do you, as a trainer, try to eliminate some of that, I guess, objectivity or whatever
gray
you wanna call it?
areas.
Subjective,
Very,
subjective gray areas.
So the one thing I tell all officials is be consistent. I have to call like myself. I can't make you call like me. So as a coach, when I coach, it's like, as long as they're consistent. Now, I'm not saying this is always true, but as a coach, sometimes I would say, okay, he was consistently bad or he was consistently good.
Yeah.
As a coach and as an official, and this is huge, and parents will agree to this, as long as it seems to be equal on both sides of the net. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
And when you do kind of get into higher level matches, that's the key part that coaches want, that parents want. It's like, if you're going to call, that ticky double, well, now we don't have to worry about doubles, but is it a power throw? Was it legal, or was it actually a lift and carry versus the other side? So you have to maintain a balance on both sides. That's the one thing I stress for new officials, like, be consistent on both sides of the net.
I've definitely seen where, say, they call a lift or something on one side of the net, but then the exact same play, according to the parents, the exact same thing just happened over here. Like, why didn't you call that?
And then you hear, call it on both sides.
Call
Absolutely.
It both ways, man. Call it both ways.
And that's where I think the angles come in. Because it really is. So I've been a dad watching. I've been a coach. I've been the R1. I've been the R2. There are different angles. I've been in the stands watching other matches that I have no dog in the hunt, and it's all about where you sit and where the ball comes from. So again, you get that.
Right.
And as a referee, for me, tune out the noise of the parents. As long as both coaches aren't reacting, it's like, okay, I'm within the norm of what they feel like is okay.
So when you're evaluating an official to be an official, I mean, are there guys that like fail? I mean,
there are some that need extra help, obviously.
Yeah.
It's like they don't understand rotation, or they might not understand the mechanics. And mechanics are huge, because that's our way of communicating to coaches, your other official, and the parents what we're calling, what's going on. So you might need to just give them additional training, suggest more scrimmage time. In the Austin chapter, we do have an evaluation process, and then we sit there and we write down everything we see in the match. And the way I debrief an official, I'll say, okay, Keith, what were you thinking, or what did you see during this play? So I want to get into your mind.
Like, why'd you make that
Why
call?
did you make that call? Or
Yeah.
why didn't you make that call?
Right,
For newer officials, they'll say, and then you're like, okay. And then you say, well, what I saw, or what I perceived to see, have seen. And then you kind of help them through. It's like, got it. Okay. And then later during a training, it's like the same thing happened. I look at them like, did you see it? So it's very hands-on when if you're going to train something like that.
So if I climbed up on the stand, okay, standing there next to you, you're here, I'm here. What do you think the first thing I'm going to see to go, oh my gosh, this is way different up here? I mean, what do you think it would be that I might see or recognize that you see all the time, and you're like, well, you guys don't realize that I'm up here, you're down there.
The one thing I think the biggest take when you understand for the first time is your whistle. You'd be shocked to know how many officials think their whistle is loud, and it's not, because that is key. And so, like I said, they're up in the stand. I'm usually on the ground below them, and I'm like, if I can't hear your whistle here, no one else can. And so that's huge. And then making sure they're doing proper mechanics, because if you see someone that looks sharp, then you assume they know what they're doing. If they look like they're in control, you assume. But I always tell the officials, let it come to you. Don't push it. Don't force the action. Let the game come to you.
I got you. So we're going to transit now that we know what officials actually are looking for during a match. So I want to get into something that has been kind of like something I've always wondered. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about hand signals. Okay? Because I know there's roughly 25 or so, maybe more, hand signals in volleyball. And I'd like to go through all of them, to be honest with you, and I'd like you to kind of explain just a short, little explanation, kind of what it is, So I know that maybe most parents don't realize that there's actually that. I think there's 20? Is there 25 or?
There's 25 to 29, depending on which ones you want to look for.
Because I know there's different ones for just like rules. There's different organizations or different whatever they use different things. But for the most part, so if you're we're going to be talking to parents, like if we're looking at a parent that say has never been to a volleyball game. Maybe their daughter just started playing volleyball. So they're not even going to know, the serving motion. They're not going to know anything. So basically, I'd like to go through all the different hand signals. Number one would be the serve. Like if you're telling someone to serve, you're a referee, what does that hand motion look like?
So becking for serve, the first thing we're going to do is have a strong whistle. So it's tweet, arm is out, and then just bring it across your chest. High school, you get 5 seconds. Club, you get 8 seconds. So that's a huge transition for kids coming from club back into high school and then high school back into club. There's different rule sets on the amount of time to serve. So
is this something that every referee looks at?
Yes.
Because I've heard that before, that there's a time limit. You have so much time to serve, but I'm not sure that every ref, because I really, to be honest with you, I haven't seen it called. I don't think I've ever seen it called.
It's seldom does it call. The biggest time I've ever called for high school a 5 second is
high school's 5 seconds.
5 seconds, and then club is 8, and then you go to reserve. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it's usually the girl goes back. She doesn't realize if she's supposed to be the server or not. And so once my arm is extended, once I blow the whistle and I beckon for serve, that's when the 5 counts. And I'm not doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I use it for my head. I don't count most of the times because it's like it. But then I know when Keith goes back to serve, okay, he has a routine. He bounces the ball forever. So then I'm like tapping 1, 2, and that. But the biggest on the 5 second call is if you're the wrong server and the coach is trying to get the right server back and they just stand around 5 seconds and I've already blown whistle and I've already beckoned for serve, then it starts. And once I do that, timeouts can't be called.
Oh, so you can't say time. It's like football where you basketball when you hit the shot clock, right?
No. So once the R1,
officially
blows and beckons for serve, the 5 seconds starts. No replays can be done. No timeouts. No substitution. Now, if the girl's back there, she can throw the ball up, let it drop, and then we give a replay.
And that restarts the clock.
It restarts the clock one time, but it doesn't allow for any substitutions or timeouts. And so, if you're back there serving, but it should be somebody else, you can toss it and get the reserve, and then y'all switch places real quickly, and life is good.
And with somebody else on the court, you mean?
Yes.
You just can't sub.
You can't sub it. Yeah, you can't. Right. So usually it's usually
coaches and kids. If you're ever in a situation where you think you're taking too long to serve, you might want to work out a hand signal or some type of a gesture with your team and say, rabbit or something like that, and that gives them the sign just to throw the ball up and let it fall. Don't catch it.
So as a coach, I always told my girls, I said, just toss the ball, let it drop, and then I would say, okay, you go back there instead, and life goes on. They can't come off the court.
Now this is in high school.
This is in high school.
What about club?
Same thing with club. Okay. So that rule's the same. The biggest problem or issue is usually the liberos. Who's supposed to serve? Did the libero serve for the first middle? Is the next second middle supposed to serve? So there's that hesitation.
Right.
And again, depending on the referee, there's some grace involved. The words come. This one official, my mentor, said, "Our job is never to stop a kid from playing, are not allowing a kid to play, are trying to be the ruler over all, because we're here for the kids."
We've had some of those.
On the coaching side, I've said that.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit later.
But we want to get the kids to play and do the right thing. So
the team to serve sign. What is
that's
that?
Just.
When you point your hand,
when I put it this way,
so
this way they're going to be serving, or this side.
Because I know there was a sign there that they point at it, but what about change of courts?
Okay, change of courts. So in club, because after COVID, we don't change sides anymore. So usually the set ends, and then we just direct them to the bench.
Okay.
And in high school, we do change sides still. Now, there are a few tap schools that, based on their rules, they stay on the same side. And
my girl's playing taps.
Okay. And so taps wants them to change sides. But again, certain schools have different rules for their home facilities. So again, so normally as soon as the 25th point is served or scored, our team wins by 2. It is, it's like we lost our rally. So it's tweet.
Yeah.
Loss of rally. The ball was out.
Right.
Tweet. This is the end of the set. And then tweet. You put one arm in front
and one arm
behind. Because the team on my right goes along the R2 in the score table. the team on my left comes behind me. And so those players on the court only
Right.
switch to the other side.
Yeah.
And the bench players, they switch over there.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed sometimes the bench players that kind of run into the home players.
They do.
So they're supposed to go around, or is that just etiquette? Is that like bowling etiquette?
Yeah,
kinda like a
the
thing?
6 players on the left come behind the court, behind the R1 on the other side. And usually coaches do a good job of directing traffic in front of
Right.
the score table. The R2 usually steps away from the court and monitors. I mean, volleyball is a gentlemanly sport, or more friendly,
Yeah.
but you have those schools that have rivalries. And
Yeah,
I love,
you don't want them walking by.
I
each other.
love those matches because it's like everything is heightened. But the girls, for the most part, they're cool. They switch sides, and there's no issues there. I've done some boys matches where it's like, okay, I'm looking a little more carefully, for some of that exchange between happening.
So I know that like COVID made it to where you don't rotate every time, but I know that there are some facilities that have flying obstructions. They have like basketball goals.
Right.
They'll have maybe an air conditioning vent or,
Right.
or some obstruction that's on one side of the court, but
Right.
not on the other side of the court. And I know that I don't know if COVID. They said, too bad, you got to choose what side you want during the coin toss or something. But nowadays, when they're not rotating, I don't know if this is a tournament official call or if this is like like the head dude, the head ref is going to say, this is how we're going to do it.
Right.
We got a lot of flying obstructions here, so we're going to go ahead and rotate to give each team a chance to play under the basketball goal.
Right. So I know I coached in a tournament in Chicago, Windy City, and the lights were coming through, the sun. And so that was an exception. So they said, set 1, and then they said, okay, for this certain time during the morning, the teams were going to switch sides because it was an unfair advantage. But for the most part, most high school gyms or facilities, it's all good. It's high enough. If there is an obstruction, it's always played off the ceiling, as long as you have a hit remaining. And so that situation is always covered in the pregame with the coaches and the captains, especially the basketball.
I know we're talking about hand signs, but since we're talking about what you just talked about there, explain to the parents and to the coaches. I think coaches understand it more than parents, but when the ball's in play, say the first ball comes over, a girl bumps it up, or let's say a girl pops it up because it's a driven ball. She pops it up and it goes up and it's clanging around in the top up there, and then it falls. They can still play that, right? Yes. They're still playable. Yeah. Now, let's say it's second hit and a girl hits it up, it hits the ceiling and goes over on the other side. What's the call?
It's a loss of rally. So on any side the ball hits the ceiling, as long as a team still has a remaining attack or hit, play continues. But if it hits any overhead obstruction, including some schools have banners or flags that hang over, as soon as it touches that and goes across the net, it is immediately loss of rally, out of bounds. So play stops immediately.
Because otherwise you could literally play it off the ceiling. Boom,
off
the ceiling. So that's why that rule is there, because you don't want people taking advantage of it, right?
Yeah.
So it clangs around up here on my side and I have another hit.
Keep playing.
But if I hit it off the ceiling or hit it off an obstruction and it goes over the court, dead ball, and you lose the point, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's
so it's not like a do-over.
No,
right?
and that's where your line judges are huge, because sometimes it goes through the rafters or something. You might not be able to follow the ball as quickly. So I always tell my line judges is watch the flight of the ball. And if you see that it touches an obstruction, give me the outside immediately, wave your flag at me.
Okay.
And then let me know something touch up there. Now, you mentioned something about if it hits something, it's not a do-over. Well, there are situations that, like the basketball goal. So you mentioned that. So some schools have the basketball that are vertical. So if the ball hits the basketball goal, and in my opinion, the girl was there to play it, but the basketball backboard or the rim impeded her play, then we can give a replay. So if we feel like in our judgment,
even if it's out of bounds,
if we feel like in our judgment that if that obstruction wasn't there and the girl had a legitimate play on the ball, now if she shanks it and it's going to hit the back wall and keep going, to the next county. No, it's
if it's going up and
if it's
it
a
hits
loop,
the rim on an out of bounds ball,
and she's there to play for it,
but
then it bounces over there, then we give a replay.
So it's not just the ceiling.
No, it's So ceiling play continues no matter what. But if it's the backboards, that's the only thing. And so
hanging down backboards.
And so we always tell them in our pre-match said if the ball hits that goal, if in our judgment
If it's not flying over there
exactly.
like a shank.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, if the basketball boards are raised up, part of the ceiling, play on. So
interesting.
that's my job as an R1 is to
Make
look at
that
the
call.
court
Yeah.
ahead of time and let you know in the pregame, this is what we're doing.
So let's blast through some of these real quick. So timeout.
Timeout. So you make a T in front of you, and then you point to the side.
That call it.
They call the timeout.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the R2 does the same thing.
Substitution.
So
Is that
just tweet.
So basically,
And-
this
yeah.
guy with his arms up like that's not. Is that not it?
That is not correct.
That's
no.
correct. That's
And
incorrect.
we don't blow for substitution until the girl enters the 10-foot into the substitution zone. So you have the 10-foot attack line and the center line.
Yeah.
Coaches can yell sub, sub, sub. We don't blow for substitution until she physically crosses the line, and then the R2.
So the girl would come
tweet,
out of
tweet.
bounds.
No,
She
she's
would
on the
come-
bench.
She's on the bench.
And then she just comes right into the substitution zone.
Into the zone. Okay. So that zone would be between the net and the 10-foot line.
Right. And so out of bounds on her side. And so that's really a dead ball.
She's because like these days they're normally not sitting on the bench. Normally our girls are standing down at the end, kind of out of play. So if the girl that they're subbing in is not standing down there, and the coach goes sub, you don't care.
We don't do it until they cross it. Now again, if I as an R2, and if I hear the coach yelling sub, and I see her coming, I'm looking at her.
You'll give her some.
And my
give her a couple
R1,
steps.
and so the first referee, he's watching as well, and she's watching. But if the first referee tweet
Already
and beckons,
too
and
late.
she's not there, so that's where the players have to be ready to play.
Right.
Coaches need to know the rotation. Sometimes it's that, oops, I need you going right now.
Right.
To be aware. And so that's part of the game as well for myself at the R2 is to understand this girl's being served off the court. The coach is going to sub her out of bench, so just kind of knowing those aspects of it.
So end of set.
Tweet. Yep.
So basically a set is like a lot. Some people are like, well, what's the difference between a game and a set? Just
Right.
real quick.
Yeah. Potato.
Right.
It's the correct words of saying it's a set and it's a match.
Okay, so a match would be
best 2 out of 3.
Multiple sets, right? Or multiple games.
Yep.
So, but technically, if you're looking at the game is really the match, right?
Right.
So if it's 2 out of 3, like whoever gets the best 2 out of 3, the game is over, right?
So
the game is over. It's not not just a set. So a set is one of the actual games that happen within a
match.
Now we got delayed penalty. Is that something you call?
Okay, so
often?
a delay penalty is taking a yellow card, putting it to your wrist, and basically it's an administrative delay. And that simply means either the coach asked a girl to sub, then pulled her back, or they weren't ready to come back on time, after a timeout. And again, it's just those are blatant, like the coach is delaying the game.
You can tell they're delaying the game.
And so it's just a way of warning the coach is like, I pull a yellow card out, put it to the wrist. That's just like, this is an administrative delay. There's no sanctions.
Okay.
But break timeout. Let's go, coach.
Warning.
That's what a yellow card. Okay.
So
now,
same thing.
It depends on, is it an administrative delay, warning?
Like if I'm yelling across the court at the upright.
Then
come on, what you doing?
So then I will call, what you're supposed to do is call the captain over. I'm about to give your coach a yellow card. And this is why I let her go back across. When she gets over there, I'll hold the yellow card
We're going to talk about that after
and
this.
tweet. Because that way the coach knows. They know.
Yeah.
I mean, they know. They know. But it's a protocol. Yeah.
And then we got penalty.
We have yellow card and a red card. Now,
and you got disqualification.
Okay, so a red card though is a point, and that's
okay.
So traditionally, if a coach is we're just gonna be a yellow card. But if it's aggressive, if it's defiant, if there's profanity, we go straight to a red card.
So a red card, lose point, lose ball.
And lose rally, yes, sir.
Okay.
And then those, for high school, anytime we administer a red card, we do notify UIL or TAPS of the offense. Okay. And we are very specific on it because public schools, UIL, and TAPS, they track those to see
how
what's
pattern,
happening. Yes.
A pattern of the
Yes,
coach.
okay.
Exactly.
So
then they can
go
to
a pattern of a team. Yes.
They can go to the athletic director and say, hey, you guys need to calm it down or whatever. I got you. That's good.
Disqualification.
Yeah, disqualification.
That's holding both cards.
So you hold up a yellow and a red?
You hold a red, yeah. So that means you're gone.
You hold them in one hand or?
So it's like, yes. Yeah.
So as far as I was going to talk about red cards and yellow cards here in a little while, so let me hold off on that. So ball in?
Just straight down. So
is it 2 hands or
one hand? For line judges, it's a flag.
Okay.
For the first referee and the second referee, It's just pointing down 45 degrees away from our body. We don't point to where the ball landed, because then, so as a parent, if they see my arm as tweet, loss of rally, and then the infraction, they know that it's a down ball. The ball was down. And so they can visually see that.
So ball out.
Ball out, same thing. So it's tweet, loss of rally, ball out. We try to get our officials to get their elbows up high, because if I do this behind me, they don't know what's going on.
I got you.
So
Get
nice
your
and
hands
high,
up.
yes.
Okay. What about lift?
So it's just tweet, loss of rally, and then just a motion like just hold the ball up.
And we're going to talk about that here in a minute.
Okay, good.
That's an important one.
Yep.
Net touch.
Okay, so tweet, we don't touch the net, but you just go out like this. And so most net calls are derived from the R2, and they will blow their whistle. They'll indicate a net. They will give the first referee the number of the player in the net. That's high school. And then the first referee will repeat that back to the coach. Now in club, it's just tweet, and then we use a nice, gentle, non-threatening pointing to the player. Yeah, it's like, ah. And if the coach says something, and, as an R2 in club, I will say it was number 8, or as an R1.
But you're not doing the whole.
No. If it's as an R1, if my R2 doesn't know, then I will be polite and tell the coach who was in the net.
4 hits.
Right.
Simple.
Same.
4 fingers.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you ever see a judge or a ref do this, that means that the team hit it 4 times.
Right.
And there's oftentimes that a lot of parents call 4 hits when it's not 4 hits.
It's not 4 hits.
So we'll get into that too.
Good. Yes, that's a good call. Yes.
Double contact. Okay.
We don't get to use this often anymore, which I like.
Exactly.
Less judgment.
Illegal contact.
Illegal contact. So it depends. So illegal contact would be a back row attack usually, or.
So explain that real quick.
So if a player in the back row steps on or in front of the attack line,
which is the 10-point
with the 10-foot line, with the ball completely above the height of the net, and then attacks it, and as soon as it crosses the plane of the net or is blocked legally, that's a back row attack.
So if they cross, so the back row player can't hit the ball when they're in front or in front of the 10-foot line, and if they do, what's the hand signal?
So it just says for high school, it's this. So you just take my arm. So basically, I'm saying this is a back row attack, right?
Okay.
In club, it's this.
Oh, okay.
So that's a difference between USAV and NFHS. So in high school, we use National Federation of High School Sports, and then we have United States Volleyball Association for. So that's one.
So when you see a ref do this.
So in high school, when you see a ref do this.
It was a back row attack.
Yeah, or it could have been the libero. If the libero takes the ball in front of the attack zone, in front of the 10-foot line to the net, and finger actions the ball, and the next contact is above the height of the net, that's illegal.
So libero. So does that matter no matter where she is on the court?
If the libero is behind the attack line and she finger sets the ball, life is good. No problem.
So if she's behind the line, she finger sets it to the front row player, and they kill it.
Life is
fine.
wonderful. Yeah.
But if the libero is in front of the 10-foot line.
And even if it's like, good liberos, we'll go over there and cover their hitters.
What if it's a dig?
Okay, if it's a dig platform like this, life is good, no problem.
Okay.
It's only if they finger set the ball.
Okay.
And it happens a lot when the libero's coming in from the back row and steps on the line and sets the ball
to the front. Okay.
and not realizing it.
So that's
automatic. For high school,
considered back row attack.
That's an illegal attack. Yes,
or illegal attack. Blocking fault?
So usually it's a back row player. It'll be traditionally on the setter possibly. The setter comes up for the back row. It's a tight pass. They go up to try to set the ball, but it drifts over the net and maybe it's attacked back into her hand. And that's just this, back row block.
So when you hold your hands
up like this, it's an illegal block. And usually it's a back row setter. Traditionally that happens.
So give me that scenario again. So if it's an illegal block, who would be doing the illegal block and
both referees can call it.
Well, but as far as the scenario, like I'm a player.
Okay, so the ball's served to your side.
Okay.
The pass is to the net. It's a little too tight.
Okay.
The setter goes up and sets the ball, or attempts to set the ball.
Jumps up and sets it.
And her hands are
because she's a back row player, right?
Which back row players
in most cases.
Yeah, most cases.
She could be a 5-1.
She could do 5-1,
a 6-2,
depends. But if the setter's hands are completely above the height of the net, and if the ball breaks the plane and the middle blocker or on the other side, or even a front row player can attack the ball back into her fingers, that's a back row block. And that's one of those higher level, finer points.
Yeah.
That, for an official with several years, it
You don't see much
becomes
of those.
instinctive because you see the pass coming, you know it's going to be tight, you know there's going to be some action at the net, and so.
Because I guarantee you, there's a lot of parents
Yeah.
that, and I'm talking to the parents out there right now. There's a lot of parents that will see the second hit, which is the setter. Say the first one comes off and it's
Fast.
tight to the net, and let's say it's a 6-2. So you got your setters playing back row. Setter goes up, and instead of just like hitting it over, jumping and hitting it over. First of all, I guess you can't leave your feet, right? If you're a back row player,
you can leave your feet. People, that's another thing. They'll say she didn't jump. It has nothing to do with her feet. It's all about where does she contact the ball.
So if she contacts the ball above the net,
completely above the height of the net, and sends it over,
then
that's an illegal contact on her.
Okay.
But I think where you're going is but if there's a middle blocker.
But what if she, because everybody sees the setter always trying to hit it back into play, and they're like, why did you just hit it over? Explain to them why.
Because if you're a back row player and you're going up to set the ball, you cannot attack the ball over the net. So basically, setters are trained that if it's tight, get your hand up there and try to pull it back, because then they might get it over the net call, or they're trying to put it back into play for someone on their team to attack the ball. And some setters forget, and that's what my job is, to make sure I know she came from the back row.
But if the setter is up there and the ball is below the net and she pops it over.
Absolutely fine. Yeah. Even if a portion of the ball, in my judgment, was above, life is good.
If the majority of the ball is below the net.
Not majority. Yeah. The ball has to be completely above the height of the net to call an illegal attack. Yeah. But if a portion of the ball is below the net,
because she's having to hit it up and over, so instead of because otherwise it'd be just
right. And what you can, parents, you can see this. So if a setter goes up there and sets it and dumps it, and the official does this, that's me telling the coach, usually the opposing coach, she was below the height of the net. She's legal. The ball went over. Life is good.
Okay.
That's just, I only did it once, so I'm not going to do it every time.
Hold your hand
I'm just letting them know that it was a safe call. Yes, I saw that she's back row. However, the ball was not
above the net.
Right. It wasn't completely up, part of the net. A ball was below the net. Life is good.
So as a setter, if you're up there, if you're talking to a setter, if you let the ball drop below the net, you can assist it over without getting called.
Right.
So let's talk real quick. A rotation fault. That's a big one.
Okay, so if that's the R2's job, predominantly, they're watching the receiving team, and usually it involves the setter, not always, but sometimes the setter jumping and going too soon. And so at the moment of contact of serve, they have to be in their base position. If the R2 feels like they're out of rotation, out of alignment, it's simply a tweet,
Meaning,
stopping.
when you say they have to be in their base position, who are you talking about?
So all the players. So in a 6-2 situation, and your setter just serves, she's going to be in right back.
Okay.
And then you have an outside hitter that's in a right front. Depends on if the coach pulls back the hitter to pass. The setter is kind of stacked. So this is my hitter. So the net's in front of me. Here's my hitter. Here's my setter. They have to stay behind the hitter, their front row player, until the moment of contact of serve. Sometimes they creep up too soon.
Oh, okay.
And if they're in front at the moment of contact, then the R2 will blow the whistle dead and simply give an out of rotation call, and making sure that the coach knows. Now, if she's here, I'm going to call that. But if she's kind of jumping a little bit, a good R2 will say, hey, coach, number 14,
make sure
she's
she
jumping
stays,
a little
make sure
bit.
she stays back.
Right. Another one you have to watch out is, I don't know if you're familiar with the terms, a left stack.
I'm not.
Okay, so coaches that know, parents you might know. So if your left front player pulls all the way over, you have your 3 front row players here, and your setter kind of is isolated here. You got to watch them leaving too soon. Even though their front row player is way over here, they have to watch that adjustment. So again, that's
so if they leave too soon,
then it's a illegal rotation as
illegal.
well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not always just because they're when they're in the wrong position,
right?
And I guess one of the big things, and I was going to wait to talk about this, so we might as well talk about it right now. When you call, I guess that's this motion here, this rotation. So a lot of parents, they're like, what does that even mean?
Right.
So can you explain?
So on serve receive, and on serving, the girls have certain positions. There's right front, there's middle front, there's left front, left back, center back, and then right back. In the game of volleyball, you have what is called adjacent players. So if I'm in right back, the setter, I cannot be closer to the net than the right front, nor can I be closer to the left sideline than the middle back. So I have to be behind her and on the right side of her.
Okay, so you have to stay inside and basically inside your adjacent player.
Right.
Okay.
A lot of times we have issues when you're running a 6-2, as you mentioned, and the setter is in middle back. And so she pushes up, so she's in front of the right player there, but then your two back row players, she's got to split them. And what happens sometimes is, so if this is a middle back player and here's right back and here's left back, if the setter shifts a little bit, then we have an overlap because as center back, she's closer to the right sideline. And so that's another one. That's some of your common ones.
And is that something that an R1 has to have a lot of experience to recognize?
That could be an R2.
R2.
Yeah, see that serve receive and understand. And again, at the lower levels, my job as an R2 would be, hey, coach, watch your setter. She's shifting over a little bit too much.
Is that usually the one that has the problem?
It's usually traditionally it's going to be your setter. Not always. Now, middle school is a completely different ballgame. Sometimes the players are completely out of rotation.
Like literally, they're
It
in
is.
the wrong spot. They're supposed to be right back, and they're like front.
No telling where they are.
Yeah.
And so you have to be a little more calm with them and say, hey, coach, you might want to ask for a rotation check. And I'll do that to a coach before the backing for serve. And they'll ask for it, and then I'll put the girls back in order.
Okay.
Freshman and JV, again, there's some latitude that we should be given because it's still training. At a varsity level, coaches are going to expect that call. Now, it depends on what level. They're going to expect that call. And so, again, you could be the guy and, it would be totally fine. I tend to say, hey, coach, watch her a little bit. I'll give them one time on this rotation. Watch the setter, watch the hitter. To let the coaches know, like, I'm watching it, but I'm not going to be too big of a stickler on it.
So the rest of them are like a replay. It's 2 thumbs up, and that's just a call.
Yeah.
And there's some other ones on here. Plays over, illegal request, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's
Something's
a yellow card again.
That's the yellow card. And then good play.
Yep.
I guess.
I do, as R2, I do that a lot with my R1. Just let them know, and my line judges, let them know, hey, there's a good call.
Let's go on to the biggest volleyball controversies. Let's talk about double contacts and prolonged contacts and all that stuff. So these are things that I don't think parents, and sometimes coaches for that matter, don't really understand. But what are those things and what do they mean?
So with the new rule that started last year for high school and for club also is the double contact by a setter or an opposite player setting the ball. And so what I really like is they followed in with you with college, NCAA. As long as you are contacting the ball to a teammate on your side of the net, life goes on. I mean, I've seen some mangled balls, but it's going to a player on your side of the net.
This on the first hit.
Now, first hit,
doesn't matter, right?
I can chunk it over the net. Life goes on as long as I don't catch and release it. That's where judgment comes in.
That's the prolonged contact.
Right. That's the prolonged contact. But if I double the ball and send it over the net on first contact, life continues no matter how seriously, no matter how ugly it looks.
On the first hit.
On the first contact only. So
you could literally just spin it and go over the first hit.
Yes, and a lot of
people, a lot of parents, the first thing they're going to do, double.
First contact parents, mangled over the net. Life is good. Yes, it's ugly. And yes, you're like, that's a double. You're correct. But it is legal on the first contact. Yes.
Okay, now we'll go to second contact.
Second contact. I can mangle it. I mean, I can just
spin it.
As long as, we don't call spin.
As long as it don't go over.
Don't call spin. As long as it goes to a teammate, life is good. But the minute on that double contact, if it completely crosses the net or is legally blocked by a player, that's when the judgment comes in.
Okay.
So do I feel like it was ugly? Was it multiple contact? Did I physically see touch?
Right.
The ball is drifting towards the net. It is legally blocked by a blocker because once any ball gets into the plane of the net, the blocker can block the ball. At that point, I can blow my whistle and give multiple contact. What happens sometimes there is this is where the judgment comes in more is ball is passed, setters may be out of position or something, and then they double contact it and send it over on second contact. That's where more judgment is called now on that. It's like, did I physically see contact over the net? If there's spin, that's okay.
Okay, third hit.
Third hit, we call it immediately. So if we feel like in our judgment on a third contact, because after
it's got to go over the net.
Right, because they've completed this, the term is they've completed their attack.
Okay.
So once a team has completed their attack, third hit, you call that ball immediately. No matter if it's going to hit
That's why
the ground.
you never want the person third hitting it unless it's a person that's got clean hands, because you
Right.
can hit it over the net with two hands.
Yeah, you can.
You just but you're watching rotation. You're watching.
I'm watching the double contact. Yes.
You're watching double contact, which usually the evidence of double contact is a spinning ball, right?
Not always, but it can be. So that's a misconception.
So what
also.
if it's a double? So if it's a double hit and it can still come off clean?
I've seen balls spin, but you cannot visibly see
The double
two contacts. The girls are so athletic these days. I mean, I've had some science teachers have proven to me that a ball can spin. That's like it comes off your platform.
Yeah.
Have you seen a ball spin off your platform?
All the time.
All the time. So
Every time.
that's one
Damn near.
That's one contact, right? So again, so parents want to call spin. And we don't call spin, or at least we train not to call spin. You try to, and earlier I said, I'm not watching the ball come to her hands. Once I see the ball's pass, I'm going right to the setter. I'm trying to see the ball come out of her hands. And it takes skill. And do I miss it? Occasionally.
When we're talking about third hit, getting it over the net.
Yeah.
And keeping it
Second over, third over is all that. So that's where the more judgment comes in today.
But if you spend any time on social media, you're saying, you hear people say, there's no doubles anymore.
Right.
I mean, is that true?
No, like I said, there is still the judgment of does it go over the net? So parents will say that, but in our world for officials, we can still call a double if it breaks the plane of the net or is legally blocked, and we feel like it is a double contact.
So clear it up for us. Was there a rule change?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was officially a rule change. And what was the rule before, and what did it change to?
So the rule used to be that on second contact, you could not double contact the ball. That was a rule, and that's when all the doubles were in.
So the setters had to have a clean.
It had to be beautiful. Yeah, and there were some,
Which I kind of liked.
consistency.
I liked that. I personally thought the skill of a setter. I always liked watching the skill of a setter. And if they got called a double, you're like, okay, I see it.
You see it, yeah.
But so I kind of like that. But on the flip side, I'm like, what if it's out of system and the ball goes to an out of system player and they're not a setter,
right?
And the ball comes off spinning,
right?
That would always be called a double.
It used to be that way, yeah. But there was a rule change on that, and I'll just say,
why did they change it?
Because the NCAA did it, and so you'll see rule sets.
Why? What do you think the reason was?
The reason I had read and heard is they wanted to continue to let the game play out, to take it out of our hands. And I'll have to say, in a tight match, my last thought every time is not me. I don't want to have a tight call, or I want it to be clear, obvious, that everybody in the gym was like,
yeah, that was a double.
Yeah, he had to call that one. It stinks that it was on the last, fifth set. I mean,
it's the last point of the game.
I had that last year. So in the 6A Division II state finals, Austin High versus South Lake Carroll, in the fifth set, and it was a 15, there was a pancake right in front of me, and it was like 10-12.
Was it clean?
Yes. And I mean, my first reaction was, the ball was right below me. I thought her hand was on it, but as soon as I let the play go, I looked at my R1, R2, no call. I looked at both line judges quickly, and so I felt comfortable and confident. But of course, the team that thought they got the tip, they were not happy with me. But
well, for those that don't know, can you please explain what a pancake is?
Okay, a pancake is, as the ball is coming down, the girl gets her hand under it, and she has to cleanly get the ball
comes off her
to
hand.
Pop it up. So there's no contact on the floor.
So basically, she kept it from touching the floor.
Her hand is completely under it.
But
the
it's
ball
flat
comes
on the
off.
ground.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And
it pops up.
Not always, but after watching enough, you see how the ball comes up. And that was on her hand, or did it get some of the floor?
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of calls.
So you're saying you saw this one?
It was clean. It was
pancake.
gorgeous. It was beautiful. 50% loved me. 50% didn't love me. And so again, and that kind of, it was a great play.
Yeah.
It was a momentum.
Can't take a good play away from a kid, right?
It was a momentum buster for the other team. So I was like, those are the, like I said, that happened last November. I still kind of think of that one call.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I always say, and most referees feel the same thing. They want to walk out and not be known. Now, after 40 years, coaches know me.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Right.
But I don't want them to remember me as in you're the guy.
You're the pancake
you're
guy.
yeah. So
Yeah.
and I, the coach, I met him later, and he said, Russ, I said, telling you it was good. But that's what I enjoy about the game, those fun matches. But I also want to leave knowing that I did a good job for both teams.
So let's jump into the Libero real quick. So what are like the biggest Libero rules? I mean, first of all, a lot of people are like, what is the Libero? Why is that girl wearing a different color shirt? I mean, so if maybe we can talk about that first and then talk about the rules of the Libero.
So the Libero is a defensive specialist. They can only play in the back row and the back row only. Whenever they have to be replaced, if they would be rotating to the front row, the replacement player has to come back in for them. So they are special. They wear the different color uniform and they can also wear different spandex and shorts. They do not have to match the rest of the team. Now what you're going to see in Texas high school this year, 2 liberos. In USAV, they've had 2 liberos for a while. Now schools can play with 2 liberos. Again,
they just can't be in simultaneously, or can they?
They cannot be inside. Only one libero can be on the court at the same time. Both liberos do not have to match their jerseys, so they have to be contrasting.
So one girl could have a green jersey, one girl could have a pink jersey?
As long as the predominant color of the other team is completely contrasting. So if your team's in all black like you are, then you can have a lime green and a bright yellow libero, because as an R1, as R2, I need to look immediately and know who is my libero. That I like. There's no, there has to be contrasting.
So you can't say, number 10's a libero and she's wearing the same uniform.
Can't do that. So she has to be in a different color jersey.
She has to stand out.
She has to stand out.
Okay.
So one libero can be on the court at one time. And we call it, for scorekeeping purposes, libero tracking, I always call it a libero sandwich. So if you are the player who starts the game and I come in for you as the libero, which I would never play libero, I would come in for libero. When I rotate off, you have to take my spot. So as a tracker, I want to see 17, L 17, because that means that you replaced me and we did correct procedures.
Okay.
Now for high school this year in club, you can have what is called an exchange, which is if you and I are both liberos, we can go in and out for each other.
Oh, really?
As long as who I came in, if we're both liberos, if I came in for number 14 and you come in for me, and then I come back in for you, and you come back in for me, 14 needs to come back in at the very end.
I got you.
So liberos can switch out back and forth.
So as an R1 or R2, you're really not looking at, if there's 2 liberos, you don't really care which one.
I don't care which one is in.
Because you're not looking at, you're not going, okay, she's in 5 times and she was in 4 times.
Don't care about that.
They don't count as a sub.
They don't count as a sub. So
a libero can come in and out, and that doesn't count as a sub.
It does not count as a sub. High school, NFHS, you get 18 subs. Club, NFHS, USAV, you get 15 subs. So it's they increased that this year for USAV. It used to be 12, but now it's 15. So that's nice.
That's club ball.
That's club ball, yeah, sorry.
So there was only 12 subs before?
For club ball, yes.
And now they've increased it to
this past season subs. It's been 15. So coaches really like that, especially if you're running a 6-2. That's where you get a lot of your subs. But for libero, it used to be a libero can only serve for one player. Now it's both liberos can serve as long as it's in the same position. Okay. So if I go in as a libero and I serve in rotation 3 and for the middle, so I'm serving, I'm doing really well, life is good. The coach wants the other libero to come in and serve in position 3, that is fine. So
as long as it's for the same.
It's the same position.
Yeah, same position.
So when you look at rotation, it's rotation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You laughed earlier about, I don't know, triangles, whatever. So
yeah, exactly.
So when the libero comes in to serve, the scorekeeper will put a triangle around whatever position the libero serves in.
That way they can visually see it and remember it.
And that's the only position the liberos can serve in. So again, this year for high school and FHS, both liberos can serve as long as it's in the one position.
So what's the purpose of having a libero? I mean, why do we want on a libero? Why
So
does
for a
it-
coaching aspect, so I did coach, it's good that you don't have to burn a substitution.
So is that the only thing?
That's one thing, and that way it gives more kids the opportunity to play. That's the thing, the rationale this year for NFHS. It allows for more participation. Because I've had teams before that I've had two really strong defensive specialists. It's hard to give one the jersey and not the other one. So the last year I coached, which was 3 years ago, I had two liberos, and they were both equal. And so I let both girls play all the time.
As
So they
liberos.
just went in and out for each other. And coaches have to make that decision. As long as they feel like the flow of the game is still good. I've seen some.
So what's the difference between a libero and a defensive specialist? I know they are defensive specialists,
Right.
but
So
what's one that's not a libero?
defensive specialist has to sub in.
Oh, okay.
So they have to
that's
sub
it.
in. That's the only difference. So as a libero, I can go in for any player in the back row, as provided they come back in for each other, and that is the benefit. So one year I had a right side that she could not play defense, and I didn't want to sub because I lost a sub. So I used my libero for her.
Okay.
And it was really nice. But then sometimes you might have an outside hitter that plays really well at the front row, but struggles for serve receive. So you might put a DS in, defensive specialist, but that's a sub. So then you can have really two good, if you leave one as a DS and one as a libero, you have two good receivers in the back row. One's the libero, no substitution. Then you're just using one substitution for the other player.
I got you. So what is whenever the libero goes to a training, a coach is going to teach them how to be a libero? What is it they're teaching them that's different than a defensive specialist? I mean, is it pretty much the same thing?
It's the same.
So essentially, so you're not learning anything. You're not learning any special libero magic or anything.
No, it's just how to read the hitters, how to determine the block, knowing what defense you're running. This is my coaching side coming out. It's like, where are you supposed to be in the rotation? With
None of this
blockers?
affects ref, right?
No, but still, but it does, because then I have to realize, like I said earlier, my sixth position outside, she's in the back row. Now I have to be aware that there's going to be 4 attackers versus 3 attackers on the front row.
Oh, I got you.
If I'm running a 5-1, I have a setter on the front row with 2 attackers.
Okay.
The big girl that can swing everywhere, she's in the back row. But if a DS replaces her, I'm not as concerned about a legal back row attack,
right?
Because it's a DS. She's not going to. She's not going to have. She's
most likely not going to be hitting the ball.
I mean, she could have some hops, but then, but as a ref, I can then determine, and that's another thing that goes through my head at the same time. Like, okay, I have a 6th position outside. I have 4 legitimate attackers. I have to understand where they are all the time. So that does play into officiating as well.
So we're talking about back row attacks.
Right.
I mean, what are you as an official looking at? And when it comes to a back row attack, what are you looking at?
First thing I do is, again, I watch the position of the setter. Because if I see the setter just dip just a little bit, she might be sending a set to the back row.
Okay.
And once I see that ball going towards the back row, then the first thing I'm going to do is my eyes are going to the line.
Okay.
Because I have to watch that last approach. If traditionally they're going to be coming out of the middle back, some really good right sides when they're on the 5-1, she's going to be swinging from right back. My eyes are going, is the ball going to be going back? My eyes then go to the line because I'm going to see, does the attacker pivot right at the end, just turn her foot just a little bit to stay completely behind the line? Or is her toe on the line as she stands up to attack?
If her toe touches that line, just like a serve, that's
illegal attack. Yeah.
So let's say I'm a middle back, and the setter setting me back row, and I get up and I hit the ball, but I land 3 feet inside the 10-foot line.
Life is good.
Doesn't
as
matter.
long as you take off completely behind the attack line.
Yeah, I took off behind the back.
Life is good.
But I landed up there and dang near
absolutely,
up to the net.
yeah. I mean, you see in the collegiate and the international players, it's truly having 5 attackers. 5 attackers
because they jump so high,
and they are taking off legally behind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
So what about touch calls? So sometimes every gym, they swear that the ball gets touched. Like when the ball's getting hit over.
Right.
And you always see the girls do this. Throw this, like touch. They're wanting you to make the call.
Right.
So I mean, obviously, if the trajectory of the ball changes, that's obvious. Or you hear it. But I've seen plenty of calls where, and of course, in club ball and high school ball, you don't get the replay. But I've seen people say, it was a touch.
So we don't call on sound. I mean, we have to see it. So that's one thing that said, surely you heard it. Well, if if you notice, a lot of officials wear earplugs.
Or they have headsets because they're talking to
exactly,
the R2,
exactly.
right?
And that is so huge since you went there. We are pushing that more and more for high school
Headsets,
because
R1s and R2s.
it's exactly, you can communicate what's going on quickly. You
Did you
diffuse
see
a
that?
lot with.
Did you see that?
Exactly. Well, you diffuse a lot with coaches.
Let's tell everybody we saw it.
And then and then the R2 is saying touch, 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 touch. So you could call it immediately.
Immediately,
And
okay.
that's not that look around.
Yeah.
So for me, again, I get there before the ball. So as soon as the pass is, my eyes go where the setter is.
Okay.
As soon as the ball is set, then my eyes are going to the attacker and the blocker because you're going to see that immediate boom, boom play. For me, the ball closer on my side, actually, when the ball is right in front of you, for me, that's a harder touch
Because
for me.
the ball's hiding it.
Yeah, and I can see a touch on the far side better. And so as good officials in our pregame conference, we talk about that. And so I will always tell my R2, ball's closer to me. You might think I could see the touches better. I said, those are a little harder for me. So I said, make sure you really are looking for me. And as the R2, their job is on the blocking side. And so my job as R1 is I'm on the offensive side. The R2's on the defensive side, the blocking side. And so I'm watching the attack and I'm watching a hand at the same time for blocking. But my R2, if they're watching for me, they're going to see the touch maybe before I see the touch. And we train our R2s. It used to be you do a very subtle one, but as an R2, if I see a touch, I immediately go out with a big, strong, only if the ball goes out of bounds. I mean, if it goes out of bounds,
yeah,
I'm going up there high, proud. I've got it. I know it's 17. I've got that touch because that way there's no questions. Okay. And as an R1, I'm like, I love that because we can sell that call.
Now, in club volleyball versus high school. So in club volleyball, they don't have the money because you have 60 courts like at Houston when we were at the Lone Star. There's 60 courts going. You got essentially, there's more, but there's 60 R1s that are being paid to ref the game, right? The R2 is usually the opponent for that pool.
Right.
One of the opponents for that pool. Right. And then you have your flags, which is the players
from that.
But in high school, it's usually you're up, down, and your corners, they're all paid, right?
It depends.
Sometimes you'll have the flags will be ran by the high schoolers.
Right, and it's one from each team.
In the scoring table is usually the high schooler.
Right.
But usually the R1s and R2s are both paid. Usually there's two.
Right.
At least two in high school.
Right.
So oftentimes in club ball, when you're an R1, I've seen this many, many times where there's a tip or supposedly a tip, and you'll have one of the flag girls that's running the lines hold her flag and put her hand on there like tip.
Right.
So how much do you depend on that, or do you? And now we're talking about club ball or high school.
Yeah.
Or high school.
Yeah,
I mean, are you depending on that? And if I'm a line person, I'll go, hey, I saw it.
So for me in USAV or NFHS, either one, if a girl and I tell them up front, I'm like, you are part of the officiating team, and so we train our officials to make sure we engage the line judges. But occasionally kids will make a call. They feel like they have to make that call or whatever. If I feel in my heart of hearts, and I'm 1,000% sure there is no touch, I will wave them off. And those are the ones that's like, there's no way. I'm sitting there going, it split the block, or it was this high above the block.
Right.
And a lot of times that's when you look at the coach also as the R2 or your paid R2. You're like, you get that, and they'll say, and so we're like, and then we're like, no. And if the captain comes over, the coach says, I'm say, no. In our judgment, there was no touch on the block. It was 6 inches above the block.
Yeah.
She split the block. No, we're not going to.
So you don't always.
Not always. I mean,
and because I've seen, there's been plenty of line calls where the girls, especially the ones that are standing close to the team.
Yeah.
Because there's always the line judge that's away from the team. They'll call stuff, and of course you got and like you said earlier, different levels. There's different levels of volleyball. So when you got say girls that are say 12 years old and they're running lines.
Right.
I mean, and they're sometimes on their. I've seen girls on their cell phone running lines.
Not on my court.
Of course, most good R1s will say, look, no cell phones, no
AirPods,
no blankets,
no Uggs.
Don't have a blanket wrapped around you with the flag underneath, and they're doing this because they're freezing cold. I mean, I couldn't imagine playing volleyball wearing Spanx and a little tight shirt and being in a cold facility. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're freezing cold, but I see them, and a lot of them are just not into it. They're just like. I hate to run the lines, this sucks, and then you have other ones that are like, they're very into it.
They're into it, yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, let's say for USAV or NFHS, I get the line girls over there and I talk to them. And I said, this was going to happen. I said, when the ball lands, I said, you make a call immediately. And I said, and if you don't, I'm going to stare at you. Even if I know the ball's completely in, completely out, I'm going to stare at you. And I said, and I was a former middle school teacher and high school teacher, but I love it. It's like, and what's everybody going to be doing? They'll be looking at you. So keep engaged with me. So every official has their
They don't want to be looked at.
They don't want to be looked at. And so it's like, that's why I give them the thumbs up and all that. So it's really good. I will overrule a line judge, pretty much. If I know my gut of gut, heart of hearts, it's out, or they weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
And so that's.
I mean, you are in an elevated position,
right.
but you can't see everything.
Exactly. And believe it or not, the call that right underneath me is the hardest one. As a former math director,
like bang,
it's like, well, no, not bang bang. You have a round ball on a flat surface.
Right.
Where does the ball actually hit?
Yeah.
It might be outside the line,
position.
but yeah. So that's why, and I explained that to the line judge, like you are critical for that.
Let's talk about screening.
Yep.
So we're getting into screening. So first of all, what is screening, and how do you even think about calling that?
So screening is when you have players at the net, and the old rule, they'd have their hands up like that, and basically they are not allowing the defenders, the people receiving the ball, to see the flight of the ball. That's a new change this year.
So they're blocking them.
So they're blocking the view. So you're
Purposely.
serving. Yeah. Good coaching.
Yeah.
They're bunched up in the middle of the net. And if the ball is served directly over at a very sharp angle to prevent the receiving team of seeing the flight of the ball, that could be a screen.
Yeah.
This year with NFHS, the rules are changing.
When you say this year, some people that are
Starting
watching this podcast
August.
well, say someone's watching this podcast and it's 2030 or something.
Okay, so NFHS, when they make changes, they don't change them later. They rarely go back on this. So
in 2026,
on August 10th, I believe is that first Monday, players must keep their hands to the side, or they can put them behind their head. So you see that a lot with the guys. They put their hands behind their head. So now no obstructions can be high.
So what's the point of having your hands behind your head or hands out if you're not trying to screen?
Okay, so as a coach, I used to train my girls at the net. Your hands are up because if there's an overpass, you're right there because you have to go from here to here.
Your hands are already up.
Right.
Yeah,
so, but NFHS is changing it. So your hands are out to the side now. Now, there are benefits for blockers of having, on the serving team of having their hands out, because you'll see the better teams, they're directing traffic. Like they're saying, I'm pointing out my 3 hitters. So their hands are engaged. They're letting everyone know where are the setters, center, front row, or back row. So there's reasons for it, but starting in 2026, we are serving team players have to have their hands to their side, not above their heads. So screening should dissipate.
Okay.
So basically screening was, or
but
is.
if you see someone's hands over their head, you're going to call screening.
You're going to warn them first and say,
get your hands down. Yeah.
And if they do it again, then it is tweet,
screen,
loss of rally. It's the same thing as back row block. So it's like that. So yeah.
How about center line and net and center line? So that's a big one. So let's
huge.
That.
Okay. So in NFHS high school, I always say a net is a net is a net is a net. So if players touch the net anywhere, inside, outside the antenna, during play, during transition, it's a net violation. The biggest problem is in USAV is players can be in the net as long as they're not actively involved in the play. So if I set the ball and I come down and I transition and hit the net in USAV, life goes on because I wasn't actually involved in the play anymore. In FHS, high school, if I'm in the net, I'm in the net. So it doesn't matter where. And also with USAV, if you touch the net outside the antennas on the net, life is good.
Okay.
So again, you have to change the rule.
So if you're outside the antenna and you're like say if your trajectory of your body after a hit or something takes you outside the net and you
shoulder it in USAV.
Or what if you touch your hand on the cable
outside in USAV? Life is good in high school.
But we see people call it all the time. Is that just the coach? Is that just the refs not knowing their own rule?
I wouldn't say they don't know the rule or not. It could just be if they felt like maybe they did touch the net on the antenna.
Oh, okay.
As in USAV, if a coach is up on the game and they know, they will immediately send their captain over and protest that call. It's like, where did she touch the ball? Where did she touch the net? And it's like when they hit the standard or the ref stand, it's like, do they gain an advantage? So that's another thing.
Yeah.
So
it's a judgment call.
It's the rule set too. But
Yeah.
for going into high school, a net is a net is a net is a net.
Perfect. So, what are the 5 most misunderstood calls? Like, if
Okay.
you had to pick 5 calls that I'm talking about parents now.
Yep.
Not I mean, I guess coaches too, but
yeah.
parents, like, they see a call and they're like,
Right.
no, that's not right.
Right,
Of
right.
course they know all the rules.
Right. So the first one would be nets. I mean, that's a huge transition from coming from club season right now into high school. Again, during the high school season, a net is a net is a net. The second one is centerline violation. You hear that all the time from parents. She's under the net. She's under the net. So in high school, NFHS, if this is the center line, a player's foot can be on it or directly above it, life is good. Nothing else. If their foot goes completely across, or if their hand goes completely across.
So if their heel's on it and their
So-
toe is over the line,
Yeah, so that's fine. As long as their heel, if any portion of their foot
still touching the line.
is touching or above the line in high school, life goes on. Life is good. But the problem is if they do a jump or block and they pivot, then they're completely over the line. That would be a centerline violation. So we point to the center line. In USAV, which parents are coming from, the only time you call a center line violation if there's interference or obstruction. So you see players going over the center line quite a bit in USAV. No calls because the action's on this side of the court versus here, or there was no interference. So those are two. I know it's
And we see,
It's
I got
confusing,
this look
yeah.
on my face because I'm just like going, there's been
And
so many
I'm
games.
watching you.
There's so many games that we're in
Yeah.
that I'm telling you, their foot's on the line and their toe is barely over. And the down ref, they're calling it, and the thing that irritates me about it is that the down ref is an opponent in that pool.
So I'm going to address that one now. So that's huge. So as a coach, I used to coach club and I took it seriously. And this is the part I want to preach to other coaches as well. Yes, in club, you don't like to officiate. I get it. I love it. But in those situations, you need to be giving your best as an R2 like you would be as a coach.
Well, if they don't know?
Well, they're all supposed to be certified. So in USAV, coaches have to be certified every 2 years and they go to a referee clinic and they're supposed to know.
But they're taught the whole foot thing over the line and the foot
Yes,
thing.
they are. And so my point is, I always tell, when I had my own club, I made the coaches do it and I did my own reffing sessions. But this is a point I really stress is like when you are on the coaching side, you want that R2 to be a truly certified reffing coach. You want them to make the correct calls for you. You need to be respectful and do that. And that I always go back on the directors on that. And you're right.
Club directors. Right?
Club director.
Okay.
So, but in those situations as an R1, if I see him call a centerline violation and I know there's no centerline violation, I immediately go with a replay. And I just, so that's.
But you would have to see that because you're really not
right.
looking at
Well,
all that stuff.
and
I mean, all the
like
time.
I told you earlier, it's like as an R1, I know when I'm going to get a coach that cares or doesn't
You
care.
can kind of tell.
You can tell from the get-go. So, all right. So going back to R5, net, centerline violation, definitely is huge. The other one is, I guess ball handling is consistency. Don't get upset on the first call or no call. Wait to see how it plays out. We try to train our officials. If you're going to make it on the first call, first play of the call, make it on the last play and throughout. Don't make, from a parent's point of view, you probably think, oh, they're making up a call. We don't. We really don't think about that. So judgment is in the eye of the beholder and it's angles. So just understand angles. The other one for officiating, we don't care about the outcome. We really don't. Like, I don't. I want to see good
So you
volleyball.
don't go into it going, oh, this is this team. I love this team.
No,
you don't go into that?
No. So in the Austin area, I can speak for the Austin chapter. I might see a team 3 or 4 times a year. That's it. Because our assigner moves us around because I shouldn't be your hometown ref. you
Right,
know.
yeah.
And again, a lot of it.
No home
for,
cooking.
Yeah, for high school, it's depends on your
We see a
availability.
lot of the same
Well,
refs.
well, because of availability,
Yeah.
location. So it depends. But I can say for the Austin chapter, and we encourage it not to send the same official over
To
and
the
over.
same schools
It's
over again,
just,
yeah.
I don't want to do that because I don't want to come in, especially if maybe I had a bad night. The girls go, oh, there he is.
Home cooking.
And
Home
that's, yeah,
cooking.
that's not cool.
Here comes the chef.
So I mean, we try
Did I
not
say
to do
chef?
that.
I meant ref.
Well, there you go. And the other, I don't know. I want to say that we do the best we can. I believe that in my heart. I got into it for a part-time job. I agree, but most officials are trying to be students of the game. They really are. They try to improve, and so we're there to facilitate. We don't care who wins. I want to see good volleyball. I want to see clean volleyball. I love the game. That's for me. So only gave you 4. I'm trying to think of another one, but I think
Well, that's fine.
I think
4's
the
fine.
net and the center line are huge.
Those
and
are the biggest
judgment.
ones. What about lift?
Okay, so
Let's talk about lift and double.
okay,
And we already
it's-
talked about contacts, but
yeah,
when
so-
everybody says that was a lift, that
right.
was a lift.
So there is no term in the rule book called a lift. It's called prolonged contact. The biggest call is, here are the areas where you see possibly prolonged contacts. The blocker goes up and blocks. The ball comes down on their side of the net and they pop it up. Now, if I physically can see the ball stick on her hands and throw it up,
Right.
I'm going to do prolonged contact. We've seen the girls become more athletic. A good coach will tell them to block, come down, and pop it up. And just because they have it open, if people think if it's an open hand, it's prolonged contact. It doesn't
As long as it's
stick.
rebounding, right?
Exactly, it doesn't.
So you're looking for a rebound rather than
Exactly. The other one is usually your middles. It'd be a nice quick set, a 1. There's a middle blocker there, and I'm seeing as an attacker, wow, I need to take the ball from here to there. Now, again,
they're throwing the ball.
it's all about midline. For judgment, it's midline. Now, if I catch the ball here, if I see a player catch the ball here, and extend it out there, I'm going to call it prolonged contact because there's no way they can, let's say, pop it, but they're not going to do that. You will see the girls maybe try to take it this way.
Yeah.
And again, it's angles and see, does it stick on her hands? The other one is the big push from back row or something. That's another judgment. It's like, do you physically see it stick and then
Push.
she extends?
So I see a lot of times with middles and stuff like that. I mean, I can see they go up and then they'll do this
That's
or
a
they'll
block,
do that. That's
right?
they'll keep taking it and they'll just like they're trying to dink it.
Right.
But there's oftentimes we'll see it, and I mean it's literally you'll literally see them throw it to the back corner, or they'll
Right.
throw it to that back corner, and it never gets called.
That's again the judgment call.
Judgment.
So if they for me, if I see a middle blocker jump up and catch it, and then I see him physically throw it,
Yeah, they're
I'm gonna
pushing
call
the
that.
ball.
Yeah. And I'll have to say, when I do call that on a middle, they'll look at me and go,
Yeah.
they know.
They
it.
know.
And if they get away with it,
get away with
if
it,
they
I'm
get
gonna
away
keep
with it, they're
doing
going to do it again.
Exactly.
But then as a parent, as a coach, does it occur on the other side as well? Are they calling it on that side? Not.
Yeah.
Then that's the consistency that we talk about.
So another one that parents talk about is you got girls. A lot of times you got girls that play both sand and court
Right.
ball. So a sand set. A sand set is beautiful. I think I think it's just the smoothest looking set in the world. But on court ball, I mean, there's no way you can not say that that's prolonged contact.
So that's the deep dish.
And some people
so
call it, and some people don't.
I
because
tell
it
you.
looks so cool. It looks so nice, but they're going, they're almost catching and
You
throwing.
have to, again, this is where I talked about earlier, is you cannot wait till the ball gets to the setter. You have to be watching the ball get there first. There are some setters I've seen that it looks like they have the ball. They don't have it until here and they pop it up. And
I got
again,
you.
as a good referee, we're watching warm-ups. And I'll have to tell you, for me personally, if I see a setter in warm-ups doing a dish, I'm like, oh, and I have to be more aware. I have to watch.
Is that what it's called?
It's just a deep dish set.
right,
Yeah, so it's a deep set coming up, and you have to watch it and say, is it truly prolonged? You watch in warm-ups, and if she's consistent throughout,
It's just the way she sets.
it's just the way she sets. But then I'll watch it, and sometimes I'll just go them speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, I got you.
Southern California teams, if you ever play them, they do have more of that beach set with them, and you have to be a little more aware of it.
All right, so now let's move on to, we already kind of touched on this earlier, but we talked about red cards, yellow cards, and all that stuff. But I don't, I think we've already talked about what they mean.
Right.
So who can get carded?
Anyone.
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 Me? Parent?
No, parents can be carded, but parents can be escorted from the gym. So
Okay.
in high school, if there is a parent who is a little out of control, we can stop the game. We can get the game administrator over and have the parent removed, and that's up to our discretion.
So pretty much anyway. So is
Yeah.
there? So there's no such thing as a green card, right?
No, there's
Well,
no
there
green
is,
card.
There is. It
Well,
just depends on
yeah.
what your status
Well,
is.
yeah. So, no, it's like I said, yellow is if you have a coach that's just is chirping too much. I've had enough, coach. I'm done. Or if it's very aggressive, we go right to the red.
So let's talk about rule changes. I mean, how often do they change the rules? I mean, will they change every year? Like, oh, yep, we're going to change this rule.
Not necessarily. A lot of times we have different points of emphasis. So in National Federation, we have a couple of points of emphasis this year, and one of them is the contrasting uniforms. But last year, they did away with the doubles. That was huge. This year, they're adding the second Libero. That is huge. For NFHS, they don't try to put two huge rule changes year to year because it's the transition part.
I mean, who ultimately makes the decision on who changes rules?
For its National Federation, which is in Indiana. They have a sports officials committee, and they're the ones that usually take directions either from NCAA or from the USAV.
And will that be a rule change for like
all 50 states?
Everybody? I'm all organizations. Do they?
No. Each organization does their own rule sets.
So, but as far as high school, club, and all that stuff, I mean, there's probably two different things there. But I mean, because there's obviously different rules in a club. There's high school.
Right.
So when they change a rule in high school, it doesn't always mean it's going to change in club or vice versa.
Exactly. So a lot of the rules usually stem from NCAA on down, but not always.
So when they do change a rule, how do you know?
We get notified usually in February.
I'm talking about as a coach. Like if I'm going out there and playing, like I've been doing this for 5 years. Why all of a sudden I can't do it now?
It depends on. So if you are in high school, public school coaches have to go through a certification process with the university, UIL, University Interscholastic League. They have to do some online training on the new rule sets. TAPS does it as well. So just recently, the first week in June, my vice president and I, we went to Waco for the TAPS conference, and we had an hour session on volleyball rule changes, and we showed all the TAPS coaches all the rule changes. We provide them examples and that. So that's different organizations do it differently. USAV, they do yearly referee changes. So for paid refs, we have to go to one every year to get the new rule changes for USAV.
So if you can explain this, now some people, when I've told them about this, they're like, I've never heard of that before. But when I was younger, I just wanted you to talk about what these things are called and why they changed it. These are rules, but there was back in the day, the only people that could score would be the serving team.
Right.
And nowadays, it's pretty much whoever makes a mistake. So what is the previous? What is that called? Was that called side out rule or something?
Yes. So that was called side out. And then
because you always hear people side out. They say that. I'm like, you're totally speaking in bad terms because they think side out means okay, let's get the ball back, serve again. But really, side out. What is the term side out?
So that means it's going from one side to the other, basically.
Right.
That was a great rule change when they made that because...
So they went from side out to rally, is it?
To rally scoring.
Rally scoring.
So back then, you would have to get scored a 15, win by 2. And you had to serve the ball in order to get the point. And so matches could go on for a long time. Now with rally scoring, every serve is a point. It's either you're going to be a point for you or a loss of rally. So back in the day, as you said, I was just talking to some girls recently. As an R2, we used to duck under the net. We used to put our hand on the net because you couldn't touch on the serve ball. You couldn't, the ball could not touch the net like in tennis. It was a let serve, and it was
so if if the ball hit the net, that was like a fault.
It's dead.
Or
it's over with. The other team gets it. Yeah. So the game has evolved, and a lot of the changes come to speed up the game to make it more enjoyable.
Club volleyball versus high school volleyball, but I honestly believe that we've really kind of covered a lot of that. But if you were just going to talk to the parents and you were going to, tell them the biggest, just the main things that are different. We talked about net as a net. We talked about that. We talked about net violations. We talked about midline or midline violations. We talked about, is there anything that we didn't talk about that is something they do in high school that they don't do in club or vice versa? Or are those pretty much...
The rule sets are close enough to it. Like I said, 18 subs in FHS high school, 15 in USAV.
So the subs, the subs
a little
change.
different, right?
The net thing's a little bit different, but pretty much all the rest of the rules,
pretty much.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
But as far as high school versus volleyball, that's what I was going to ask you from a referee's standpoint. So you, as a ref, you ref high school and club, right?
Yes.
So how, as a ref, do you shift gears? And I mean, even though I know the rules are not that much different,
Right.
but I mean, but I just feel like some of the refs that coach or that are reffing club ball, they call some things that maybe they shouldn't have called, or am I just imagining that?
So
Is it possible?
the big difference also from a ref standpoint is high school coaches can scratch an official. So if they have an issue with an official, or maybe they feel like they're not the quality they want, they can actually scratch us, which means I can never go to that school, or when the school travels. Club, you get what you get.
So you may get the same guy that you hated, and
you might have someone. I said, as a coach, I would see certain refs at the same time. Like, okay, we have to change our mindset here. So, and that's the one thing. It's huge. It's different. In USAV, we're assigned a court.
And whatever teams are playing?
And whatever we usually are assigned 2 courts, and because we usually will do 2 off, 2 off, 2 off, and we rotate through the different pools, so a morning pool and an afternoon pool. That's a huge difference as well. So club officials, I definitely officiate more matches. My most recent one, I went out to Phoenix, I did 81 matches.
Oh, wow.
in 2 sessions. That was huge.
Yeah.
The most I'll do in high school on a weekend is 18. A 3-day tournament, that's it. So that's a big difference as well as for a referee standpoint. So
on refs, let's talk about referees in the club, because I know that we as parents, like I can tell you that our parents on both my daughter's teams, we'll be watching a game, and we'll come in and we'll see, oh my gosh, look who it is. And we don't know the guy's name. We just know who he is.
Right,
It's the guy, the guy with the white hair, or the guy, the guy with the, the bald-headed guy, or whatever. You're like, we got that guy again. Oh my gosh. And it's almost like sometimes, I mean, and I guess, I mean, because refs are human too, but sometimes refs will just have, it's almost like they have a problem with a specific coach. Like maybe they got an altercation at some point that we didn't see, like maybe last year or the year before, and they, had a match, an arguing with each other or what have you. But anyways, so sometimes you're going to get these refs that have, I don't want to call it a God complex, but sometimes these guys go in there and they just, this is my court, my rules, my deal. Look, you guys don't call it, I call it. Just, shut up and watch the game type thing.
Right.
You got those guys, and then you got the other refs that literally, they're bulletproof. They don't even hear what's going on in the stands.
So I'll go back to what I said is when I said that there's coaches that know me after a while, a long time. I want to be able to leave a court. They might know me by name, but it doesn't have that. And so that's what we do. I know, like I said, high school, you can scratch an official. In club, the only thing that a director can do is just approach the championship desk and discuss with the championship desk about that. I've had a situation where, as a coach, I asked for an arbitrator to come over and stand, and just be aware of concerns. And so that's the avenue that coaches have.
Well, sometimes the coaches will do that. Sometimes the coaches, like in club ball, they'll say, go get the tournament director. And the tournament director will come over and watch the game. And of course, it seems like everything calms down from that point on both sides, by the way.
Absolutely.
Not just the ref, but also the whatever the coach was doing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But one of the things that, does the crowd ever really affect reffing? Because I know, like in basketball, for example, like if you're giving a ref, hey, you can't call the game, and you're giving him crap, I promise you start seeing calls going against you. I mean, it hurts you. Like your crowd could literally hurt you in a basketball game. But is it the same in volleyball?
I can speak for myself. No. I don't have rabbit ears.
Right.
Again, middle school teacher, I have very thick skin. And I also know, especially in high school, they're supposed to be teacher coaches. And so they have a level, and it's a pressure. I mean, that coaches, you have to perform. And so I know it's part of their job, and that's their income. I never, and I coached at high school for a few years. I never scratched an official because I know that's their livelihood and their income. But again, for me, I don't have thick skin. I can get chewed out by an official, and the next time I have them, life is good. I move on. I don't harbor that, and that's what we really talk to officials about. Is you don't know what the coach is going through. They don't know what you're going through. We are human. But yeah, we try to train everybody, and I take my approach is I take it seriously, and I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
So I
You
try
don't
my
want to be
best
the
not
one that
to.
go, oh gosh. we
Here
got
he
that
comes. Here comes Russell.
So I just had this segment, and I always do this thing called Know the Coach or Know the person. I've changed it. I've created a new segment. So basically, with this, it's kind of a thing where we learn about our guests or whatever. But I'm going to call it like Beyond the Game.
Okay.
So these are just some rapid fire questions that I'll ask you, and you can elaborate on them. This isn't like quick. This isn't just give me one answer, quick thing, but they are going to be kind of rapid fire. So we don't want to go too long and elaborate it. But what's the craziest match you've ever officiated?
I actually coached one, and the scores were 42-40, 38-36, 34-32.
Oh my
We
goodness.
won in 3, and we swept the undefeated district champ at the time.
With those scores,
it was insane.
crazy.
As an official, I got to call multiple state championships, and so it's fun.
So what's the funniest thing you've ever heard from the stands? Like just from the stands?
I had a grandma come up and tug on my pants leg, scared the wajibis out of me.
You're up on the tower.
I'm on the sand, and she comes up in between and pulls my pants leg, and she just wanted to know what a signal was. And at first, those are crazy things that happen all the time, and usually they're in middle school matches, which I love.
That. So has a coach ever apologized to you after the match?
Yes. I had one that reamed me and then came back and said, "Sorry, dude." I'm like, "You're good."
Has a parent never apologized to you after?
Absolutely.
So they just do they say things that are just out of the.
I had a dad come down from the stands, and I thought he was on me all night, and I thought, okay, here it comes. But he said, "I am so sorry." I said, "You're good." I said, "You're a dad. I'm a dad. I understand it." So yeah.
Well, that's great. So what's the best compliment an official can ever receive?
I guess
what do you when you get it, you're just like, wow.
The losing coach coming up to you and saying, "You did a great job." I mean, to me, that is someone, especially in a playoff match or deep in a district match or whatever, saying, "You did a good job," because that tells me, even though she lost or he lost, they thought my officiating did not impact the game at all.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is your segment here, but I'm going to step in here. But one time it had happened to me. I was a parent in the stands, and I'm just cheering my kids on, and they're losing, and I always, one of the things I always say, I'm like, girls, we play to 25. It's 17 to maybe it's 17 to 5 or something like that. Like, we play to 25. The game's not over. Can we keep playing? And then we battled back, and maybe we won a game or whatever. Well, after the game was over, I had a ref come up to me and he goes, you're the most positive. I'm like thinking, I thought that was awesome.
No,
it always makes you feel good.
When I was in Phoenix, 13s, there was a dad, and it was the lower end of it. And this dad was exactly like that. And I got off the stand, and I said, "You just made my heart swell." I said, "You knew they were battling, but you were so positive."
Yeah, that's what I tried to do.
The kids are going to take away that positivity from you more than
that's
I'm a dad
things to
too, so
remember.
I try to find those parents and say something to them.
So if you could eliminate one misconception about officials forever, what would that be?
That we're out to get you. Again, I don't care who wins. I really don't. I want to see good volleyball. I want to see good coaching. I want to see hustle. Parents can get excited and fuss at me, but when I leave, it's over with, because they're there for their kids, and so I don't care who wins.
So after all the years you've been doing this, what keeps you coming back, man?
The game. I love volleyball.
Just love
it. It draws me back every year.
You do boys, girls, you do all the different
boys
different
is getting
sports.
higher, more in Austin. So I love boys volleyball. It's it's a lot faster.
It is so much faster.
And the girls
those dudes jump so much higher.
They do. And the girls are getting more athletic as well. They're making plays. I was like, dang. So I love the game.
So before I jump into the final advice thing the segment, which is my last segment, just real quick. We talked about it earlier, and I know this is kind of changing subject and getting back into the game. This has to do with communication of the coach to the ref. Explain the whole captain and how the conversation between a coach and a ref is supposed to go on, because this is something a lot of parents don't understand, because you'll have a coach that will yell across, and then there's a certain, I don't know if it's an etiquette or if it's a rule or what the deal is.
Yeah. So coaches are supposed to go through their captains. And so if a
is
coach,
that why you identify a captain?
that's why you to identify the captain. So if anything happens on the court, you'll see a lot of officials go tweet, 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 hold the C up, come here. In my youth, I could bend down. Now I step down a little bit to get because of the knees. But I'll just explain to the captain. I was like, please tell your coach X. And you have to keep it short and simple because from the stand to the coach, tell him what's going to happen. And my favorite, this is what I laugh about the most is if a coach is starting to get riled up and on me and all that, and I'll go tweet, 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 captain, come here. And they come over and the players know. And the captain will say, I know. And I said, well, you need to tell him. I said, it's not going to help. I'm like, well, please tell him or tell her. And they roll their eyes at me. And I love it because, I mean, I was a coach and I could be a little on that side. But that makes my heart smile. I was like, okay, it's not me.
And what it boils down to is the kids know.
It does. And then the headsets between the referees are huge because then I can tell my R2, stop it. Tell him I'm done. Or tell her that's it. I don't want to give a yellow card. I'm giving you a verbal warning right now. I'm done.
Calm down.
Right.
Can the coach say, hey, captain, come here and go tell him what I need to tell him?
Absolutely.
So is that considered a timeout? Or
that's not a timeout. And I respect the coach and I want that clarification. But again, that's where the headsets come in because then
say, why wasn't that a net call?
If a coach calls a player captain over, the R2 should kind of gravitate, listen. I can hear what the coach is saying. So I know when the player comes over, I listen, but then I respond. The R2 hears it and will tell the coach at the same time.
Okay, so getting into my final advice thing. So if I'm going to go through the different deals, like what's your final advice if you're talking to a parent? What's the final advice for a parent?
Motivate your kids. Don't worry about my job. Don't worry about the referee, the coach's job. Just focus on your kid. Be positive for your kid because your daughter, trust me, is watching you. You don't want to embarrass them and just say, how did you feel? How did you play? Great job. And go on.
Players.
I tell the players, play the best you can. I said, if you are going to be impacted by one call from me, then you need to get a stronger mindset. And it says, same thing with coaches. It's like, you have to figure out a time to kind of block out the coach because you don't want them to impact your play as well.
Coaches.
Wow, that's hard. Coach hard. You're not going to change my mind 9 times out of 10 because I'm going to follow the rules. Coach your team. Don't worry about my calls unless you think I made a rules error. Then definitely question it.
Officials.
If you're not there for the right reason, you don't need to be officiating. You should be doing it for the love of the game. Yes, it's good money, but you should be there for the kids.
And then finally, if someone who's thinking about potentially being an official, what advice?
Greatest sport ever. I love it. I absolutely love the game. If you want to get involved, it's a fast-moving game. Middle school games, again, to me, I've been doing this for years. I love middle school. It's the Olympics. It'll make your heart happy.
Well, thank you, man, for coming out and being part of this deal. So if there's one thing I hope you take away from today's conversation is this. The next time you find yourself disagreeing with a call from the stands, remember there's a whole lot more happening than any of us can see from our seat. Now, the officials aren't perfect. We know this. Coaches aren't perfect. We know that. Parents certainly aren't perfect. But after spending time with Russell today, I have a much greater appreciation for just how difficult an official's job really is. So maybe the biggest lesson isn't about lifts, doubles, hand signals, or even the difference between club or high school volleyball. Maybe it's remembering that everyone in that gym is there for the same reason, to give our kids the best experience possible. So the next time emotions start running a little high, please show a little grace. Respect the officials, respect the coaches, and most importantly, remember that our kids are watching how we handle those moments. So if today's episode helped answer some of your questions, I hope you'll save it and share it with another volleyball parent or coach or a player. My hope is that this becomes a resource that you could come back to whenever questions about the rules come up. We're already planning a follow-up episode with Russell, and this is where you can help. So if there's a situation, a rule, or a call that you've always wondered about, leave your questions and comments below, and we'll do our best to include as many of them as we can in our next conversation with Russell. Well, until next time, remember this. Every legend starts in youth sports. We all just tell the stories that started it all. Booyah.